Hey everyone, I'm Ramen Powder and today I'm back with a different kind of video, something I don't think I've ever really done on this channel. Today what we're going to do is we're going to go through some of the stats of the Team Quadrilla Marble League teams. So if you're watching this video, you're probably already very familiar with all of these teams, all 32 of these teams. These teams have all been in the Team Quadrilla Marble League from the very beginning. They've been in since Season 1 all the way through to Season 4. And all of them have been in either the A Division or the B Division of the Team Quadrilla Marble League in each of these 4 seasons. And what I've done here is I've basically taken the stats of these teams in these four seasons, in some of the events, and I've came up with these maps that show basically their overall performance in each of these staple events of the Quadrilla Marble League. So I've taken 10 events that I consider the most staple events in the QML, the events that have either showed up the most times or the events that I think represent the QML the best. And I've given each of these 32 teams a rating in all of these 10 events. So that you can see Marathon, Quadrilla Race, all the way to the Quadrilla Descent. There are 5 individual events, 5 team events. And these are the staple events that you see a lot of the times in the QML. And I've given each of these teams a rating where 50 is the direct average. You can see here with the average, this map of the average, all of these ratings are exactly 50. So the shape looks like a perfect decagon over there. But for some of these other teams, Amber Animals, Aquamarines, Bacon Brawlers, you can see the shape is different because they have different performances in each of these different events. So what we're going to do today is I'm going to go through each of these teams one by one and just talk about their history in the first 4 seasons, what they've done, some of their strengths, as you can see from the maps in some of the events, what they may need to work on going to Season 5, and just have a bit of a discussion about each of these teams. Before that, I should mention that I made these maps using a website called Flourish. Flourish is a fantastic website for data visualization. I've made tons of visualizations for the QML, not just this one. There are so many of them that you can see if you join the Discord server for the QML. So feel free to join the QML Discord. There are all the charts of all the previous seasons with so many different stats that you can see if you're into that, or just join the Discord server to enjoy the discussion with all the other community members. So before we get started with the discussion for all 32 of these teams, I'm going to talk a bit about how I came up with these numbers, how I come up with these stats for these visualizations. So if that's not really your thing, if the stats stuff isn't really what you're interested in, feel free to skip ahead to when we start talking about it team by team. I'll probably put a timestamp somewhere here for when we start talking about them one by one. And we'll also have 2 videos for this series. I'll go through the first 16 teams in this video, and then we'll have another video for the other 16 teams. So let's talk a bit about how I came up with these numbers. You can see here we can combine these all there. You can see all the teams combined. You can separate them. We can get rid of some of these teams on this website. So each of these teams have a rating, a numerical rating, which tells us how good are they in that particular event. You can see the average is 50 for all of them, which means that if you have a rating above 50, you are above average. If you have a rating under 50, you are below average. And of course, the higher the rating, the better. So essentially, if your map looks wider, if it looks bigger, it's better. And if it's more inward, then clearly it's not as good. So each of these ratings, I have basically taken an average of the past performances of their teams from Season 1 to Season 4. And these ratings are not recency weighted, so Season 1 is weighted the same as Season 4. And essentially, I give a 100 score to winning an event. So if you win event in the A Division or the B Division, or the qualifiers or a friendly round, you get 100. If you get last place, you get 0. So that's 16th place in A division or B division, 8th place in a qualifier, for example. So if you're last, you get 0. If you're first, you get 100. And then in between, the ratings are all based on the equal gaps between two placements. So first and second has an equal gap, second and third has an equal gap, all the way down to 15 and 16 that has an equal gap. So for an A division event or a B division event, because there are 16 teams, 16 placements, there are 15 gaps between those placements, so the gap between each score is about 100 divided by 15, which is about less than 10. So you can imagine first place would be 100, second place would be like 93 something, and then it would just keep going down by the same gap. Qualifiers, the gap would be bigger because there are only 7 gaps because there are 8 teams. And these averages are a weighted average because qualifiers are only there are only 8 teams in the events. The qualifiers are weighted half as much as A division events and B division events, and the friendly rounds, because there are only 4 teams in those events, they are weighted a quarter as much. So aside from those weightings, there's no other weighting. B division is same as A division because I don't think the skill difference is really, I think the skill difference is negligible. And the weightings are pretty much like that. Also, if you've missed an event, so for example, the Amber Animals, they have been in only the B division, they have missed some of the events, for example, an elimination race, they did not do it in Season 4. They will automatically get a 50 for that. So this is essentially a way for me to prevent a team from getting like 100 if they won an event and only did it once, or getting like a 0 if they got last in an event but only did it once. So it rewards consistently being good across multiple events, or punishes consistently being bad across multiple events. And before we apply the ratings to these maps, I've done another thing to these ratings. After you get all the raw averages, I've basically taken the z-scores for all of these raw averages. And what this does is this basically standardizes all of these event ratings based on the spread, because the spread is different for all of these events, because some events have happened more times than others, some events are more random than others. So some of these events have a much wider spread in the raw average compared to some of the other events. So what I've done is I've basically, to avoid having some events having a really wide spread and some events having really little spread, I've standardized all of these ratings by taking the z-score. So that's essentially taking a rating, subtracting the mean, and dividing that by the standard deviation. The standard deviation being the statistical measure for spread. And of course, all these means are the same. They're all 50, exactly 50. But the standard deviations are different. So all of these ratings are not exactly the z-score, because the z-score is has negative values and positive values, and these maps only support positive values. These are all proportional though to the z-scores, with the mean being 50 and the standard deviation with all of these being exactly 15. So that is how I've basically came up with all of these ratings for these maps. So that's pretty much it for the stats side of it. So now we're going to go through all of these teams one by one. Starting with the Amber Animals, so I can just get rid of all of these teams like this. And there we go. So we have the average rating here with all the 50s and the Amber Animals. We can combine them, we can separate them as well. Let's leave them combined so we can directly compare the ratings with the average. So the Amber Animals are a team that have never qualified for the Team Quadrillion Marble League A division. They have been in the B division all 4 seasons, but have had pretty decent results in those 4 seasons. They've only missed the top off once in season 4, never been relegated, never stood on the podium, but they have a 4th and a couple of 8th places as well. And you can see from this map that they're pretty decent in most of these staple events. You can see some of their strengths: block pushing and bumping. That's a very good one. They got, I think, 2nd place in both Season 2 and Season 3 B Division, so that's really helping them in block pushing. And relay race, that they're just coming off a gold in the Season 4 B Division, so that's helping them as well. Balancing also, they have a gold there. Marathon also a gold there, just barely above the average though for marathon, so not amazing there. They do have some weaknesses though. Quadrilla descent is a pretty big weakness, 37.67. So not even in the 40s for that event. No, that's the quadrilla race. Quadrilla descent is 34.75, so even worse than that. So quadrilla descent and quadrilla race are those two events that they need to work on the most. Some of the quadrilla events, I think that the quadrilla race especially, that is what leads them to not qualify a lot of the time. The biathlon and triathlon, also not great there. Elimination race also slightly under average. But overall, the Amber Animals, at least in the B Division, they are showing that they are a very solid team. They really desperately need to just qualify and show what they can do in the A Division in Season 5. So it'll be interesting to see what they do there. Alright, let's move on to the Aquamarines. Aquamarines have a different shape for sure. You can see here some of their strengths lie more in the individual, with the sprint, elimination race, and the biathlon and triathlon. This team has qualified 3 times. They only missed out in Season 2. They were the Season 1 hosts, but after qualifying for that season. And Season 3 and Season 4, they did qualify. Season 3 did not go super well for them. I think just 12th and a pretty poor 12th place as well. Season 1 and Season 4, though, pretty solid for the Aquamarines. And in this map, like I mentioned, sprint, elimination race, triathlon, those 3 events they are solid in, but they have some major weaknesses here as well. Collision events is their big weakness. I think dead last back in Season 1, 29.51. That is the thing they need to work on the most out of all of these events. Some of the quadrilla events though, especially quadrilla race, they're not good there as well. Not cracking the 40s. Marathon, quadrilla descent, under average there as well. And the relay race, they are also not great. So basically the team events, aside from balancing, they really need to work on the team events, do the Aquamarines. Individually, they're a much better team. Just the quadrilla race and the marathon, the 2 quadrilla events, they need to work on. But for these 3, they are a decent team, very decent. Alright, let's move on to the Bacon Brawlers. The Bacon Brawlers are a very interesting team. I think they are one of the most underrated teams in the Team Quadrilla Marble League. They qualified for only the first season in Season 1, got a very respectable 8th place, have not qualified since, but their B Division track record is phenomenal. Of course, Season 3, they dominated that season. That is probably the most dominant performance in the Quadrilla Marble League thus far. And Season 4 also very underrated, very consistent run, just 1 silver and they managed 4th place and well ahead of the rest of the field. And Season 2 also very consistent. I think the Bacon Brawlers have not gotten a single bottom 4 finish in any B Division event. And they've been in the B Division since Season 2. So they've done 24 of those events and they have not gotten the bottom 4 once, which is really, really impressive. And that's really showing from this map here. Marathon, quadrilla descent, really strong in both of them. Quadrilla descent they won in Season 3. Marathon also podiumed, I think, in Season 2. And solid results otherwise as well. They are a strong team in the block pushing and bumping. They are well above average there. Basically, all the team events, except for the relay race, they are a very, very strong team. The relay race, they struggled in. Season 2, they did not qualify because of that relay race. Decent in Season 4 though, so they are improving in the relay race. Individually, they aren't as good of a team. Sprint and elimination race under average. Quadrilla race also under average. The triathlon though, they are very, very strong there. Of course, coming off silver in Season 4, I think also solid in Season 1 when they did the biathlon. I don't think they've done the other 2 times. But clearly in the biathlon and the triathlon, they are a capable team from whenever they've done it. And the team events wise, this team is a very, very strong team. Like the Amber Animals, this team just desperately needs to qualify and get in the A Division and show what they can do on the big stage. Okay, let's move on to the Bobble Squad. And the Bobble Squad are another team that have just come off a very dominant run in the B Division. 123 points in the Season 4 B Division. And unlike the Bacon Brawlers though, that's their only B Division. They've qualified for the first 3 seasons, only lost their perfect attendance in Season 4. But individually, this team is extremely talented. The individual talent on this team is unimaginable. They have Tinsel, who is the Season 1 most valuable marble, medals in the marathon, in hurdles, which isn't here, but Tinsel, ornament, medal gold in the sprint in Season 3, gold in funnel jumping, also an event that isn't here. Elimination race, they have medals there. Triathlon, Tinsel just came off a gold there in Season 4. So individually, aside from the quadrilla race, this team is fantastic. Team events wise though, it's not as good. They are a strong team in the block pushing and block bumping. Decent in the quadrilla descent, they're coming off a gold there as well. Balancing though, very mixed fortunes in balancing. They have 2 last places, 1 first place. And I think Season 4 was about mid-pack. So those two last places outweigh the first place in Season 2. Collision also a big weakness for them. Just 35.49. That's their weakest event among this bunch. So they're not a top tier team by any means. Their seasons in the A Division were mid-pack at best. Season 3 was an improvement. They have been improving across their whole career. Season 1 and Season 2 weren't great, but Season 3 was an improvement. Season 4, even if they didn't qualify, was great. But I want to see them qualify and really carry over some of those performances into the A Division. But still, the Bobble Squad are a team with extreme promise, and I'm very excited to see what they can do in Season 5. Now we go on to the Celestials, and this is a team that has a bit of an opposite trajectory. They had a very, very disappointing Season 4. Relegated in Season 4 after coming off a very solid Season 3 in the A Division. Got 9th place in a very, very, very solid season in that Season 3. They didn't qualify for 1 or 2 either. So Season 3 is the only time they've qualified. And they do have some strengths, but also a lot of very poor results. Elimination race, quadrilla race, they're very good in those 2. Supernova, I think, is their designated quadrilla race marble. Elimination race, also very, very solid. Zone Collision, they are strong there. They, I think, have a couple of 4th places in the Collision in Season 1 B Division and Zone Collision in Season 2 B Division. They are a decent team in the block bumping, also close to the average in relay race, but you can see all the big weaknesses here. Sprint, that is an atrocious score, 24.95 for them. Marathon is also very subpar. Quadrilla descent also extremely subpar, and the balancing is not good either. Triathlon also quite under average as well. So while this team has some very noticeable strengths, they also have a lot of things to work on. And it's not really just the team events or just the individual events, because a couple of individual events they are very weak in. A couple of the team events they are very weak in as well. So this team really needs to think about what lineup changes they might need to make in Season 5, whether it's the official roster or just specific team event rosters, because this team needs some reworks going to Season 5. Okay, let's move on to the Cold Fusion. The Cold Fusion are the rebranded Blue Lotus, as you may know. For Season 5, they will be called the Cold Fusion. And this team is another one that has kind of fallen from grace. They got 2nd place in Season 1. Fantastic season in that one from the very beginning, but since then it has not been good. But Season 4 was a big step in the right direction for this team. They, after getting relegated in Season 3, big shock then, they came back, got last place in balancing, and that's why their balancing score very poor. But from event 2 onwards in Season 4, they have been on it once again. They've shown that Season 1 form once again. And you can clearly see this team has very noticeable strengths. Marathon, Iris, their captain, has now multiple medals in there. Gold in Season 4, 3rd in Season 3. Relay race and sprint, the two speed events here, they are a very fast team. Sprint, Iris has a gold there as well. Relay race, I don't think they have a medal, but they have pretty good results all around there as well. But they do have weaknesses. You can clearly see the Season 2 and Season 3 is dragging them down. Balancing, quadrilla descent, those two are not good. Quadrilla race, triathlon, elimination race are all under average, but not way under average that it's a major problem. And collision is also quite a bit of an issue for this team. Just 34.63 for that category. In the block pushing and bumping, they are coming off third place in Season 4 in the block bumping, but it only puts them at about average. So this is a team that is improving but still has work to do in the strength events. So the cold fusion, I think they are one of the hottest teams, ironically, going into Season 5 with their Season 4, but there's still big question marks about this team going to Season 5. It's definitely not a shoo-in for qualification. Now let's go on to the deep divers, and well, that shape basically says it all. This is one of, if not the best team in the Quadrilla Marble League. The inaugural champions back in Season 1, and second place in Season 2, third place in Season 4, but Season 3 was the big shock for them. Major blunder in Season 3 with 14th place only. But they bounced back extremely well in Season 4 and got back to their winning ways. And, I mean, had things gone a bit differently, they could have been a 2-time champion. But nonetheless, the deep divers, you can see just how balanced this team is, just how consistently good they are in so many of these events. The only event they are under average is in the elimination race, 46.15, so not great there. Although they are coming off of 5th place, I think, in Season 4. So they are improving there as well. And the sprint coming off a gold in Season 4 with Coral, but they are only exactly average in the sprint. So still working on the sprint and elimination race, but for everything else they are above average. Relay race, block pumping, all of the team events, they are above average. This team is pretty much flawless at the team events. They have, I think their major strengths are quadrilla descent. They have a couple of silvers there. Balancing, they have, not sure if they have any podiums there, but they have a couple of 4th places there for sure. And a lot of good results in the qualifiers. Individually, they aren't as great of a team, which is a bit of a surprise because this team has so much talent individually. Of course, they have Seabed, their captain, who we know what they can do in the individual league. Haven't really quite seen the same results in the Team Quadrilla Marble League, but we know how talented that marble is. Marine, one of, if not the best marble individually in the Team Quadrilla Marble League. Actually, I'm not sure. Probably bested by another marble we'll come to later, but one of the best marbles for sure. And even Coral, who probably was the weak link of the team, they managed to bring it back in Season 4 with a gold medal. But still, I think individually they aren't the greatest of teams. Still balanced enough. I mean, like, most of these are top half, and the ones that aren't are very close to top half, to above average already. So, yeah, they don't really have much to work on going to Season 5, just need to maintain the levels they are at and avoid doing what they did in Season 3. Now let's go on to deserters, and oh no, that graph basically tells you everything you need to know, and that things are not going well at all. They are coming off dead last in the B division in Season 4. Terrible start in Season 4. They did have a couple of decent results towards the end, but it was nowhere near enough for them to get out of that relegation zone. That was not the only time they got relegated. They got relegated in Season 2 as well. Got 13th place in that season. Season 3 was decent for 7th place in the B division, so it was an improvement, but then it just went all wrong in Season 4 as well. And Season 1, they qualified. That was the only season they qualified, and they've been in the B division ever since. And this map clearly shows you they are a team in desperate need for some changes, desperate need for some turnaround, because they have 3 events where they are decent to good, and everything else is quite frankly a disaster. Zone collision is a strong point. They got silver in the first season in the A division in collision, and I think in zone collision when they did it in season 2 in the B division they were also very solid. Quadrilla Descent is their best event for sure. They got second place in season 2 B division, and I think since then have got a couple more top halves, so very solid in the descent. Elimination race also slightly above average, but everything else, the quadrilla race is just a 17.29. They have, I think, tried multiple marbles in the quadrilla race, has not worked out for them. Marathon, they are close to the average, but that is really getting pulled up by their gold in season 1, and since then they have been pretty dismal there as well. The block pushing and bumping, they are also dismal there, 20.34. This is a team that really just needs any sort of change that will probably improve them going to season 5. Pretty much everything is bottom half except for these three. These three solid events. Okay, now we go on to the efficient eggs. They're in a much better position than the deserters. They have qualified twice in season 2 and season 3, missed out again in season 4, and they looked quite shaky in season 4, I must say. Definitely their worst season as a whole, if you really think about it, because they got 5th in season 1 B division, got 8th, both times they were in the A division, and then only managed 11th in season 4, and in fact, they were towards the relegation zone for most of the season, only really got saved by that quadrilla descent, getting the silver there, and that pulled them up. That pulls their rating up here as well. Individually, this team has some work to do. The elimination race is one of their weakest events. Triathlon also not great there. Quadrilla race, marathon, descent decent, so they are pretty decent in the quadrilla. Sprint also just slightly above under average, but not too big of an issue. Team event wise, the efficient eggs are much better though. Relay race, all of these are top half. All of these are above average except for the collision. The collision is quite subpar, but quadrilla descent, that is one of their best events. They are a solid team in the strength as well. With the block pushing and block bumping, they have a gold there. Relay race also very solid, balancing slightly above average. So this is a decent team. They have work to do, but they're definitely in a much better position than some of the other teams we've seen. Let's go on to the floundering fish. And the floundering fish, this is a very interesting shape, very wonky shape, I must say. Team event wise, they are solid, close to the average in a lot of these. Quadrilla descent, balancing, collision, those three are very solid. Relay race is their big strength team event wise, coming off a gold in season 4, and block pushing and bumping is the only one where they don't really have the raw strength to compete with some of these other teams. But individually, this team is in a bit of trouble because elimination race is pretty good. They got a bronze in season 3 B division, and I think the other results are decent enough to pull them well above average. But the other results, triathlon, biathlon, that is quite frankly atrocious. 11.55. They, I think, have gotten bottom 2 or bottom 3 in every triathlon they've done or biathlon they've done. The quadrilla race, they are under average as well. They have a podium there in season 3, but aside from that, nothing else really. Sprint is another big weakness for the floundering fish, I think. But they did improve there in season 4. They did get 4th place at the hands of Angelfish. So they are improving, and I think season 4 was a very solid continuation after their season 3 B division, because their first 2 seasons was very poor, but then season 3 they did bring it back a lot with the B division season 3 getting 3rd place. And then season 4 they didn't really have as great of a performance in the A division, but they did qualify. They did get back in the top league, and they did do very solidly with a couple of medals as well. So the floundering fish, they have a couple of major weaknesses, but they are well positioned to attack these weaknesses going to season 5. Now let's go on to our reigning champions, the Golden Cheeses. They have won they are our season 4 champions, of course, and I think season 4 is a big reason why their shape here looks extremely good. I mean, individually, this team is one of the best teams in the league. I think probably second best, only second to one of the other teams we'll come to later. But top half in all 5 of these individual events: marathon, quadrilla race, triathlon, elimination, sprint, almost perfect in on the individual front, above average in all of them. Team events, it's not as good. Zone collision is the big weakness. Collision and zone collision, I think that is the only event among these 10 that they really need to work on. The other team events are solid. Block pushing and bumping, they are a very strong team, literally, as well as figuratively. They've gotten 4th in every single block pushing or bumping they've done, which is quite remarkable. The quadrilla descent as well, very strong there, 74.88. I think that's the best score out of anyone in the quadrilla descent. They won it in season 2 and got 3rd in season 4. And of course, individually, I mean, there are so many podiums here. Quadrilla race, multiple podiums there with Cheddar. Marathon, Mozzarella has a gold and a silver. Elimination race, I'm not sure if they have a medal, but they have a 4th there. Sprint, Mozzarella. I mean, Mozzarella has really just carried this team so well in the latest season. But that's not to say the other members haven't done their part as well. Parmesan, Cheddar as well, even Emmental, they've all done really well, have the golden cheeses. And I think if they can just work on their team events, I mean, this is already a force to be reckoned with. They would be unstoppable if they can work on their team events. Let's go on to the Green Supreme. Green Supreme are the rebranded Green Lotus, and they are in a bit of a troubled position coming off season 4, which was very much a downgrade from their first 3 seasons. This team was one of the most consistent teams in season 1 to season 3. Not a single finish outside the top 5. They got 3rd in season 1, 2nd in season 3, 5th place in season 2, so not as good, but still very solid then. But only managed 13th place in season 4, and for a lot of the season they were struggling a lot. Team event wise, this team is clearly in a much better position they are compared to the individual. Zone collision and block bumping and pushing, those two events, those two types of events rather, are the events that I think this team are one of the best at. I think the top 3 in both of them for sure. I think block pushing and bumping, they are the best team out of anyone with a 75.61. So that's 77.57 rather. Balancing also, they have multiple podiums there. Descent, they have a podium there. So relay race is the only team event which they are under average. So team event wise, the Green Supreme are probably the best team in the whole league. Looking at this team, these team event scores. But individually, they have a lot of work to do. And season 4 really, I think, is the cause for some of these. The triathlon and biathlon is solid. Elimination race also slightly under average, but still pretty decent. The quadrilla events though, quadrilla race and marathon though, both of them well under average. And that's even with a silver in the marathon in season 2. Sprint also, for an ex-Lotus team, this is a remarkably slow team in the sprint, which is quite a surprise for the Green Supreme. But they really need to experiment a bit more with the sprint, I think, to see if they can get any of their other members to do well in there. So the Green Supreme, team event wise, they just need to keep doing what they're doing. But if they want to secure qualification and get back to where they were in the previous seasons in season 5, they need to work on their individual events. Let's go on to the Hazelnuts. The Hazelnuts have a very interesting shape here. Obviously, the elephant in the room is the marathon. They have a fantastic record in the marathon, the best score in the marathon out of any team. I think they got 4th place in season 1, 1st in season 2, of course. That was the result that got them their fairy tale 1st place overall in the season 2 B division. And I'm pretty sure 5th place in both season 3 and season 4. So not a single finish outside the top 5 in all 4 marathons they've done, which is really remarkable for the Hazelnuts. But aside from that, this team is still one that is probably about the D tier at the very best. I mean, Season 2 was the big high point, but Season 1, Season 3, really not good. Season 1, they got dead last in the B Division. Season 3, they did qualify, but they only managed 15th. Season 4 was about... Well, it was an improvement. They didn't qualify, but they did get 9th place. Their first mid-pack season out of all 4 seasons. And you can see that I wouldn't say they are major specialists in team events or individual events specifically. They have their strengths in the marathon, also decent in the relay race and block pushing, above average in both of them. Sprint also about average, but everything else is under average. Collision, they are weak. Quadrilla Descent is one of their worst events. I think they're coming off last in Season 4. Elimination race also not great there. Quadrilla race, that's an event that with how much that shows up, you want to be good there, and they're not that great in the quadrilla race. The collision is not great either. So both on the individual and team event fronts, for certain events here, the Hazelnuts have work to do, but they aren't in too much strife. And if they get to the end of a season looking like they might be a contender for something, well, then you have to worry about this team, because they are one of the best teams. They are the best team in the marathon. Now we go on to the Heliospheres. And the Heliospheres, well, they are one of the worst teams in the league. They got dead last in Season 1. Did not qualify for Season 2. Did not qualify since that Season 1. And in the B Division, they have struggled just as much, if not even more. 15th place in Season 2 and 4 in the B Division. Their Season 4 was probably bad enough to be last, and I think bad enough to be last in a couple of other seasons as well, just saved by the deserters. Their Season 3 was their only not horrible season, with 11th in the B Division, but still that's not anything to really brag about. And you can see it in this map. Their team events, especially their team events, are really probably the worst among any of these teams. Quadrilla Descent is the only one they're not well off the average. They are close to the average, still under average, but they have a silver in that event, so that really pulls them up there. But relay race, block pushing and bumping, collision balancing, all of those team events are really in they're all so bad for the Heliospheres. And if any team needs a captaincy change, it's probably this one. Individually though, the Heliospheres are significantly better and quite close to the average in all of these events. In the 2 quadrilla events, they are above average, so this is clearly a team that has decent skill on the quadrilla. Elimination race is also, I think, just barely above average, and sprint is under average but not too horrible, and same with the triathlon. So compared to the team events, individually this team is not too bad, but the team events is what makes this team one of the worst teams and consistently towards the bottom every season. I don't have high hopes for them going to Season 5, but I mean, wishing them the best to not get relegated for a third time. Let's go on to the Maze Runners. The Maze Runners are one of the most consistent teams in the Team Quadrilla Marble League, and this is a very decent shape they have going here. They qualified for every season since Season 1. They dominated the B Division in Season 1, and since then they have not wanted to step foot in the B Division ever since. They easily qualified for all 3 of their seasons since Season 1, and have been solid about mid-pack in all 3 of the seasons. Season 4 was a big improvement towards the end there, with a gold medal in the final event at the hands of Starch, who you may know as Daisy from when they were part of the Yellow Lotus. But the Maze Runners, you can clearly see they are close to the average or above average in all of these events except the elimination race. The elimination race is the big weakness here, which is 28.17. They, I think, have multiple poor results in that event. But if you set that aside, I mean, pretty much all of these events are at least close to the average, if not well above it. Quadrilla race and marathon, those 2 events, I mean, Starch, their captain, is set for life. This team is set with their captain in those quadrilla events. They got, I think, they have 3 out of 4 medals in the quadrilla race, which is astounding. Probably the best quadrilla race marble out of any of them. Marathon, they are coming off a gold in season 4. Descent, balancing, also very solid, above average in both of them. Collision, block pushing and bumping, and relay race and sprint, they are closer to the average, so not exceptional in these events. And I think that really shows that that really reflects in them as a team. They're not an exceptional team, but a very solid team that will show up in the A division most times and get a solid, decent result. If they can work on that elimination race, they could be a force to be reckoned with going to season 5, because they're coming off their best season in season 4. Now for the final team of this first video, the Majestic Melons. The Majestic Melons kind of epitomize mid-pack in the Quadrilla Marble League. In fact, I think this map kind of flatters them a bit, because some of their weaknesses, their major weaknesses, like I think they lie mostly in the Gravitrax events, which I didn't really include here because they haven't really shown up in the latest seasons. But the Quadrilla race is the big standout here. Honeydew, their captain, has 2 golds in this event, and I think they might be the best rated Quadrilla race team. I mean, it might have been the Maze Runners or might be the Golden Cheeses, but they're definitely up there in the top 3 for sure in the Quadrilla race. And some of these other individual events as well, elimination race and sprint, they are very strong in both of them. I think individually this team is much more complete than they are in the team events. The team events balancing, though, they are solid there. They have the record, of course, a fantastic run in the season 2 qualifiers. Haven't really done amazing since then, but still solid enough for them to stay above average. And Quadrilla Descent and block pushing and relay race also solid. And something very interesting about this team is that while this shows they are better in the individual events, this map, in season 4 they got 3rd place in the Captain's Championship, which is just the team events. And they struggled a lot in the individual events. So if they have really worked on their team events and they've improved that much in the team events, that continues in season 5, and they can keep their individual events going to how they were in season 1 to 3 before season 4, then this team could really become a great team. But they just need to make sure that they actually do good in both of those categories and not just one of them. Otherwise they'll just stay mid-pack. But still, I think season 4, although the overall placement doesn't sound amazing, I mean, it was only 8th place, which is not amazing compared to the past results, but that's still their best result. And I think points wise, this is still their most impressive season, because when you think about it, this team only had 1 gold in season 4 in the Quadrilla Pursuit, and aside from that they were just consistent all the way throughout. So many mid-pack finishes, so many advancements in the events, just didn't manage to get the medals. So if they can if they can get into those semifinals and those finals more often, this team could really get the big points and really challenge for more than mid-pack. But nonetheless, the Majestic Melons are in a pretty good place going to season 5, and they also have perfect attendance, so we'll be hoping to keep that going to season 5. So that'll be it for this first of 2 videos about these Team QML maps, and we'll be back with the second video hopefully coming out very soon after this one, going through the other 16 teams in the Team Quadrilla Marble League. If you want to see more of these kind of maps and these stats and stuff, feel free to join the QML Discord server. The link will be in the description below. Or if you just want to join in on the discussion, also the QML Discord server is a great place for that. And that'll be all for now. Thank you for watching, and have a nice rest of your day.